Havet runt ön Kodiak i Alaska är välkänt för sitt storslagna fiske på lax och skaldjur. På huvudön Kodiak och på några av de närliggande mindre öarna lever en unik invånare som drar stor nytta av havets rikedomar. En av orsakerna till att björnarna här växer till gigantisk storlek är den rika tillgången på föda. Kodiakbjörnen, världens idag största landlevande rovdjur, är en underart av brunbjörn och lever endast på Kodiaköarna, en kort sträcka söder om Alaskas fastland i norra Stilla havet. Beräkningar visar på att idag finns omkring 3500 vilda Kodiakbjörnar. De flesta av världens brunbjörnar har ofta svårt att hitta mat under vinterhalvåret och måste därför gå i ide. Här på Kodiak påverkas klimatet av den varma japanska havsströmmen och vädret är ofta milt året runt. Det gör att Kodiakbjörnen även vintertid har gott om föda. Och därför är det många av björnarna som håller sig vakna hela året. Aldrig tidigare har Kodiakbjörnar tillåtits lämna USA för djurparker i andra länder. Under 2012 ska 2 unga Kodiakbjörnar, hannen Tekoka och honan Chagiak, få ett hem utanför Alaska och USA, på Grönklitt i Sverige. Vanligtvis dör eller avlivas moderlösa björnungar här på Kodiak, men under senhösten 2010 gjordes ett undantag.
The late afternoon, about 5 p.m. on the 8th of December in 2010, we got a report from this area right here, right behind the main grocery stores, that there was a single bear cub in the woods right here that was by itself and no evidence whatsoever of a mom nearby. And it was a very small cub, only about 15 or 20 kilos. That was real unusual, but I just assumed that the mom must have been somewhere nearby and the police were going to keep an eye on things. Later that evening, we started getting more reports, again, of a single bear by itself, real small, going closer and closer into residential areas. As it progressed, it was getting stranger because, again, there was no sign of a mother and there was some snow on the ground so you could tell if a mom was nearby. The next report we got was about 9 p.m. that evening. Call came in at our house that there was a single cub that was sleeping amongst bags of garbage next to a person's house. And of course, by the time we got here, the cub was gone. It had gotten scared by the people and it had moved to who knows where. It was dark by this time. Cubs, just like small children, will wander away from their mom. The mom may be sleeping or whatever, and then she'll eventually find them. And mother bears are extremely defensive of their cubs. They'll try to protect them in any way they can. So we, in most cases, don't want to capture the cub. So what we'll do is, if we're determined that there's not a mother there, we'll usually capture the cub and euthanize it, because there are very few places that can handle a Kodiak brown bear cub. And even the places that claim they want to have a bear like that don't have the facilities to care for it for the 35 years it'll probably be alive. They really don't have the facilities to care for it mentally. That's a huge part of taking care of a bear or any other intelligent, large carnivore like that. They're so smart that if they don't have mental stimulation, they're going to go brain dead. They're going to pace back and forth and do what's called stereotypic behaviors. And we'd rather not condemn a bear to that sort of life. If it's in town, we'll catch it and we'll euthanize it. If it's out in the wild, we'll usually let nature take its course and another bear will probably kill it. The next morning, on the morning of the 9th of December, we started getting reports from this residential neighborhood. The bear tracks were going right through people's backyards, but it seemed to know the neighborhood. It knew where to go. It knew which hole in the fence to go under. It knew how to get around dogs that were on chains. And it wasn't doing that in a haphazard or a random type of manner. It was doing that as if it had been taught. That suggested to us that This bear had grown up here in town. Its mother had trained it in this way. Every place we'd go, the bear would be a few steps ahead of us, and finally it went back into the trees, into the heavy brush. Later that evening, we got a raft of calls, a whole series of calls on both my cell phone and my home phone of the cub being in a trailer court. And the kids had the cub cornered underneath a trailer, poking at it with sticks, and that was a potentially dangerous situation. When we came out here with the state trooper, they had most of the people dispersed, but the bear cub had also dispersed. Once again, little Shagayak, little ghost, had eluded us. We had reports that it had gone underneath a house. So while the state trooper was keeping people away from the situation, I went into the house, I looked around the backyard, found the tracks of the bear, and as I was approaching the area, the bear shot out from behind this house that we're right next to here, right next to me, went out this direction and down the road, and once again went into the trees. The next day we had no reports. We figured, aha, finally she's found mom, finally they've gotten together. She wandered around far enough that it went to the right location. At 3 p.m., we got a report from this trailer park. The person who called said they had her with a ham sandwich. So we came out here, and finally, after searching amongst the trailers and interviewing a lot of very scared residents, finally we saw the cub. Fortunately, it was also right next to a porch of one of these trailers. And I was able to go through the trailer with this tranquilizer stick, and while the bear was watching the crowds, I was able to jab it with the tranquilizer stick, and then about 90 seconds later it went to sleep, and we were able to gather it up, put it into its little container, and have it in captivity. We have bears that live right here in Kodiak City. We probably have 12 or 15 of them that live near town, and 2 or 3 that routinely come around houses like this. And that's probably how the cub was raised, by a mother who was very smart about living around people, not causing problems with the people, not being seen because she's out mostly at night, and being able to coexist without any kinds of problems with folks. People in Kodiak are extremely tolerant of bears. As long as the bear doesn't scare somebody by aggressively going toward them or cause property damage, people in Kodiak are extremely tolerant and don't mind having bears in their backyard. On November 10th of 2010, we got a call about 3 bear cubs of the year that had been abandoned or orphaned. At the same time, we had a report of a mother bear that had been killed in defense of life or property. It was about 30 kilometers south of Kodiak, so we were able to go out on the road with a team of biologists, spent most of the day, and finally found the cubs, but only were able to catch one of them. And the reason we were able to catch him is he went up a spruce tree, and while he was up there trying to hide from us, we were able to hit him with a tranquilizer dart. Crawled up the tree after he went to sleep, carried him about 1 kilometer back to our truck, and then kept him in Kodiak for about a day. After a day, the weather cleared. We were able to get him on an aircraft to the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center.
Well, the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center serves as a home for orphaned and injured wildlife. We're particularly interested in bears, the charismatic megafauna that they are. There's great interest in Kodiak, the island, the bear. They're certainly icons of the wilderness. So we thought it was a nice opportunity to showcase these beautiful animals. Tagoka came in first, and I was just trying to get a feel for his personality. He was spooked, and so both of them were obviously quite scared when we got them. But Tagoka's very gregarious. He doesn't focus quite as easily as the female, the sow, does. But he is a real curious animal. Bears are curious by nature, but he's particularly more curious than she is. Shigaic is more standoffish. She's a bit more aggressive in her interactions with people, but she's subordinate to Tagoka, the male. We weren't sure who was going to be the dominant animal, but after a while, Tagoka put on some weight, and he ultimately became the dominant animal. They do get supplements of fish, and any carcasses, roadkill that we get, we offer to the bears. They explored the opportunity to fish here a little bit and weren't all that successful, but they started to pick up on what you need to do to grab a fish. Well, one of the things that we're excited about is that Orsa is renowned for its research and conservation programs, and so what we hope to do is partner with them on a cognitive study looking at visual acuity in bears and color discrimination in particular. We want to be able to continue this research when these bears move on to Sweden.
The reason why we were willing to catch these two cubs is because of the facility that they're going to in Sweden. Grönklitt is a rare opportunity where you have very large enclosures, you have a high quality education program in which the bears are essentially ambassadors for all the other bears here in Kodiak, and you have an enrichment program where the bears constantly have some sort of mental stimulation, some job to do, something interesting to look for so that they're mentally safe as well as being well fed and well cared for.